This game is rated E10 for ages 10 and up. For more information, please go to esrb.org. Hello everyone! Kirby here, but you can call me KV, and welcome back to Let's Play Kirby Air Riders! We're watching the intro again because I like it so much. But also because the video you're watching right now, I'm also watching. Just, without the audio from me, because you'll be watching it when I have the audio from me. Basically, I recorded this video so I had some B-roll so I could actually finally discuss the other interview thingamajiggy they did with Sakurai regarding Kirby Air Riders. So I'm going to pull up my notes because I wrote a lot of notes, and this video is roughly 50 minutes long, so hopefully that's a long enough time for me to discuss everything, as well as kind of paying attention to stuff that was going on. This was recorded in late May of 2026, and there was some event going on, so I think I just did the event, and it was just like, oh, this is footage I could just talk over later, so there. Oh, it's a delayed. Dang it. I messed that up. Can we go back? No, it's not going back. Alright, so. Sorry if you hear my mouse. So, Ramped Up Riders. Yeah, that was the event going on, so that's what I am playing. And Kirby was a Ramped Up Rider at the time, so was Rick and Gooey. Using Rick because love Rick. Rick's adorable. Future me is gonna hate that because now it's something I have to edit into the rest of the video. Now that because I'm essentially like, when you think about it, I'm working on this video 3 separate times. The initial recording of it, this part where I'm talking right now, and then later when I'm editing it. And if I didn't say anything like, I don't know, adorable, which is what Rick is, then feature me editing this would not have to worry about putting those in. But now he does. So I'm just making this horrible for myself. That's my bad. Shush. Okay. Well, that is going on. I'm going to bring up my notes. I'm going to bring them right here so I don't talk off my mic. So I'm going to move my video footage to the left of my screen. I've got 2 monitors. And that way I can just read this. And, whoa, okay, this went way further down than I thought I was going to when I switched over to my screen. But yeah, again, looking at everyone's licenses, etc. So, I will have a link to this quote-unquote interview. It's not like, no one's really asking the questions per se, it's just Sakurai kind of just discussing stuff. So basically, it's like a third Sakurai presents Kirby Air Riders Direct, just in text form. And so I got my notes on it, and that, so that's what I'm going to be looking at, which I've been telling you that for the last 3 minutes, sorry. But there will be a link in the video description so you can go read it for yourself, because the goal is not to replace it, the goal is for me to react to it. So if you want to read along while I'm doing this, you totally can. So, it's split into roughly 5 parts. They have Air Ride and Top Ride, cramming everything in the Skya, and some other stuff that will go along as we go. Because the first thing that's discussed is Air Ride and Top Ride. So there was originally 20 different motifs they wanted to use for courses, including Nova. So Nova was always planned to be a course in the game. Always kind of makes me interesting, like why was Nova considered, but not any other known Kirby stages. I don't know. So, and basically, the team, they looked at the 20 and said, okay, which ones do we really, 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 really want to do? Because there's only 9 new courses in the final game. So, the ideas are Way for Waters is oh, it's based on living water. Whatever that means. But you've played the course to get the idea. So once they had the idea from the motif, they began working through paper, working on it. They would draw the course, refine it, then do prototypes. Models based on concept art come later, with them working on area by area based perfect as it goes along. Yeah, because in the interview, there's actually a rough drawing that shows the concept of Mount Amber Falls. Luckily, the first stage we're playing here. And knowing how this track is meant, it was always meant to be one lap. That was their idea. And it shows key points highlighted to show what they want the vision to be, such as the first turn showing off the scenery and later corners taking a high speed. From there, like, they started doing tweaks. So there's another diagram that shows, like, here's Sakurai going in, like, okay, but what if we did this, this, and this? Like, what if we put a bridge here? What if flight happens here? Then there's another diagram that kind of, like, combines it and also more finalizes it, so they kind of get more concrete, like, oh, why is it showing off the environment, or why is there a bridge here, or something like that. And they put indicators to add, well, now having a map key to designate definite elements in the final design, such like this is a cliff, uphill, tunnel. So, because like the initial drawing, as you're probably seeing from the diagram, if you're looking at it on the website, so yeah, go to my video description. There is a link. But if you like, these are really cool diagrams. I really like these, and if you look at them, like, the initial is like, oh, it's going to look like this, but it's like, well, how, like, where's the tunnel going to go? So it's kind of cool to see, like, how it goes from the original to final. Also, apparently, like, Sakurai has an eye for detail in some of the most just, like, bizarre ways. And I say this lovingly, but also slightly, because I'm going to get to that, but don't worry about that for right now. But his eye for detail is like, oh, well, based on the position of Mount Amber Falls and everything, when you end the course at the beach, the coastline must be pointing north. And it's like, well, wait, that's not how it works regularly to the sun. And it's like, oh, well, it's Planet Popstar, so it was probably fine. It's just really funny. Air ride courses for Air Riders were designed to be like theme park rides, which is kind of explains the game's tempo as to why it's faster than the previous one. So showing off cool scenery at high speeds that keep the player engaged. And it was kind of think more like an action game than a racing game. So in order to get a sense of adrenaline that comes from racing, which honestly, when you compare it to like other, like, the unfortunate thing is that most racing games are based on real world locations, and you want to try to keep that as realistic as possible, but then it doesn't become as interesting as it could be if you just kind of opened it up. And you think of a game like Mario Kart, and Mario Kart, while can go fast, is more interested in the chaos of, oh, here's all these items and stuff. So I like this approach to it. It does really give that adrenaline feeling of it. It's really funny though, because Sakurai wanted the courses to be wanted them to be shorter. And his rationale for this is he wanted them to be shorter so it didn't feel like everything comes down to the last 30 seconds of a race. Because if you think about it, like, going back to Mario Kart, especially in Mario Kart World now, unless it's a knockout tour, because, you know, that's different, everything really comes down to the last part of the race, because depending on the items you get, depending on the position of your players, like, you can easily go from 24th to first in the third lap of the race within 20 seconds in Mario Kart World. And Sakurai wanted to prevent that, which is why he wanted the courses to be shorter initially, but then basically they kept designing the courses and he's like, okay, well, I guess it can be that long. But that also probably explains why the start slips mechanic is so strong, because that way it feels close. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm just coasting because I'm in first. It doesn't feel like that, which is kind of nice. Yeah, and I wrote in my notes here that, like, comparing, like, because I do have some people I've talked to who compare Air Riders to Mario Kart, and Mario Kart is meant to be fun. Both of them meant to be fun, in fairness. But Mario Kart's gimmick is the items. And when the items happen, that's just kind of like, it's just the chaos of it. Whereas Air Ride does feel like there's a bit more skill involved. Not much, mind you, but like it feels like it, because you're not suffering to the ramps of the items. And I don't mind either, to be fair. But I think that, like, if that is your more flavor, there's different flavors you can pick from, and they're both tasty in my opinion. Okay, I can see when he says more on the star slips mechanic, because I think that there is still some luck involved in Kirby Air Riders, but it's not as prevalent and in your face compared to Mario Kart. Yeah. So then Top Right, because he's spoken Top Right like this. What's really interesting is that Air Ride and Top Ride, despite sharing models, all of the machines, like in the weight and stuff, function completely differently because Top Ride is such a different mode. There isn't a lot of room for gliding in Top Ride, for instance, and there isn't a lot of room for longer courses. So a lot of the machines and riders, they are built slightly different despite using the same models. So I thought it was really interesting, because you'd think, like, oh, just transfer them over, like, easy peasy. And it's like, no, honestly, that is why I can think that the Top Ride courses from the first game weren't brought back, only because maybe that didn't work with them. I don't know. That's speculation on my end. Yeah, so when you're unlocking a machine, you're actually unlocking two machines. You're unlocking the one for Air Ride and the one for Top Ride, because they don't function the same, which I thought is really funny. And then there's also something interesting that, like, you know, like the signposts we see here, and there's like some of the red cones and stuff that we see on the courses. It's like, those seem kind of jarring. Why are they there? And basically Sakurai wanted to make sure players knew where they were going at all time, and they wanted to try to blend the elements together first, but it kind of didn't work as well, because, you know, if you blend it, people are going to notice it. So instead they just went, okay, no, we're going to make it obvious. And I know some people will be like, well, that's like the yellow ladder and the game where they're telling her to go, and it's like, I don't think that argument is valid. And this one, I think, works because in this particular case, oh, that's a nice Fecto Elphus wheelie bike there. In this case, they're guiding you and you go by them so fast that it's kind of like, oh, well, you should be paying attention, otherwise you're going to lose the race. So they're meant to assist and not hinder you or take you out of the world, and I think they do a pretty decent job at that. So that's mostly the notes I got on Air Ride and Top Ride, which, again, very interesting stuff. I like how they discuss how the courses are made, and I like that, you know, in Top Ride and Air Ride is essentially like these are the same machines, but they're not. So the initial plan for City Trial, this is the second section of the quote-unquote interview at this point. Yeah, let's play as Kirby. They wanted to bring back the old map and update it, or that's at least what it kind of sounds as what Sakurai's talking about. And they couldn't pour it over, because it wouldn't just be updating graphics. They need to have the new system for all the machines worked, and comparatively, the original City Trial map is fairly small compared to what we have for Skya and Air Riders now. And also, because they wanted to have 16 players, it's kind of like, well, yeah, that probably wouldn't make sense. So they have to make the map bigger, and it just felt like it just make a new map at that point. And Sakurai even notes that if the average speed of machine changed even just a little, that would change the entire base City Trial would need to be in order to compensate. And because of that, trying to make another City Trial map just seemed too exhausting for the team, for if one of those machines got tweaked, the entire map would need to be adjusted. So basically, they're working on creating the machines, the riders, and the maps all in tandem. So because Sakurai wanted to have the same basic game flow, the City Trial map, and why we only have one, is because they didn't have all the final specs of everything until late into development. It sounds like, anyways. And basically, all the ideas they had for more than one map, they just crammed them all in, and that is what became Skya. City Trial's main design philosophy is to be a mode where not like not just one strategy works. It's why the floating islands come in and out. It's why getting to them just automatically make you the winner. There's also other factors to consider, such as who gets there first, who the machine gets destroyed before then, etc. This is probably why there aren't multiple city trial maps, is creating a one big map has subtle changes every time, keeps the playing field somewhat level rather than people just picking the map they want. My thoughts on it anyways. Would I still like another city trial map? Absolutely, but I can understand the design philosophy as to why they went with just the one. If Kirby Air Riders was getting any DLC, I doubt they would at this point, because as I was reading this and making my notes, it was like, oh, because they were developing all these things like together, you can't just go, oh, here's another rider, because then you have to update how the Skya map works and how all the machines interact with that rider and stuff. It's a lot. So, yeah, I know I'm gonna be rambling here, so my apologies. I got my notes. Compared to the previous game, they actually had a team that worked on the field events for City Trial. A lot of the events in the first game were last-minute quick things to implement, such as dense fog, since time was crucial. So, like the dense fog events in the original Kirby Air Ride was like, oh, well, we can do this effect really quick, so that's an event. There we go. And since they had a more dedicated team on this, they could create some more in-depth events, which is where we got the short race, the dust-up derby, and images they show in the interview for this section are from the original Kirby Air Ride, though, so showing dust-up derbies, destruction derbies in Kirby Air Ride as part of the city trial map, which I think it's funny because just because it has 3 names. It's called Deathmatch in Japanese. They call them Destruction Derbies in Kirby Air Ride, and now they're called Dust-Up Derbies in Kirby Air Riders. Not sure why they didn't stick with Destruction Derbies. Whatever. But my thoughts on it is that I think it's possible that the Dust-Up Derby in-field events came about from seeing the stadium events from the first game on the City Trial map and wondering if they could just do them in the main field part of the game. Because a lot of the Destruction Derby maps that are in the first Kirby Air Ride game are just sections of the City Trial map walled off from the rest of everything else. And that's what some of the Dust-Up Derby maps are too for the events in Kirby Air Riders now. So I think that to me, that seems like, oh, I want to incorporate this as a field event. Well, you have the field event here, or like you have this match event that takes place in the same part of the map. Why not just bring that into the map? The stadium vote is something Sakurai is particularly proud of, as it levels the playing field for more players. I will defend the voting system for City Trial. I think that is the correct way to play. I do not care about, oh, we're all trying to build one for one mystery. It's like, no, we should build it for 4 mysteries, and then you can play the mind games, because that is fun, and I don't understand when people do that. And, I mean, Sakurai's envision for this was basically, if you somehow picked the wrong machine or didn't build it to the thing you need for the final match, it basically means, oh, by the way, there's 3 other options. Maybe my machine is better at one of these, as opposed to the one option that just gets picked if there's only one option left. And yeah, I agree with the sentiment, because it's just like, no, it's always the same. And that, like, to me, that can suck the fun out of it, because it's like, because you can get screwed over pretty badly in City Trial. And if you do, it's kind of like, well, hey, this happened, and so I can't participate in this event. And it's like, well, but what if I had this, and things are better now? And it's like, oh, okay, that works, because, like, there's options. It's not a guaranteed loss. It is a 1-in-4 chance, and then depending on who joins you, basically. And I think that makes it, to me, that makes it more interesting and a bit more chaotic, and I like that. Anywho's, enough about me. Riders and Machines was the 3rd section, and I think this is kind of interesting because basically, compared to the previous game, we actually have a character roster and a more dedicated machine roster. So kind of more like a Mario Kart. So Sakurai quote we have from the very beginning of this is, "It may feel like there are comparatively more enemy characters to choose from, but that's because, in the Kirby universe, it's easier to create riders out of enemy characters." Which, I guess if you have Mild for the Waddle Dee and the Scarfy, sure. Rip Adeline and Adeline Ribbon, though. That sucks. Make playable pitch, I say after saying why I understand making DLC would be hard. Sakurai also didn't want to add in too many original characters, and that's pretty much why Nord DDD exists. It's the only new character, and they basically just kind of went, yeah, that's all we're going to do. And to be fair, a lot of the enemy characters, like Starman, like Scarfy, like La 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 La, have more simpler designs, so they're easier to animate and iterate on. So I guess I should count myself lucky that Taranza is playable, because Taranza is definitely a more complicated design compared to a Scarfy. And Adeline Ribbon would also be kind of more complicated designs. I love them, but they have more complicated designs. Pitch isn't complicated, though. You should put pitch in. A lot of the animations that the writers have came about because they wanted to keep it the same, if not more animations than Kirby. They want to keep about the same amount of animations that Kirby had in the original game. So Kirby had a lot of unique animations. So he had swimming, walking, flying, and all these, like, basically, if Kirby had animation for this action, any new character they made had to also have a corresponding animation for that. So you couldn't just say, you're not allowed to dismount in City Trial this time too. And that is what, like, the direct quote from Sakurai there. And that kind of explains the mentality as to why we got the characters that you can play as that we did. Many Kirby characters don't follow uniform designs like human characters, so each new one, added for the most part, would have their own set of animations that couldn't just be copied over from to another rider. This may, my speculation at least, be why the paddock was made in the form it was for online lobbies, as Sakurai's team really wanted to show off all the hard work they did into the animations on these models, hoping it would make players fall more in love with the game. Even if they aren't playing every day, they might play when a guest comes over. My efforts would have been worth it as long as people can enjoy this game for a long time, and that kept me motivated. Direct quote from Sakurai himself. For the machines, they basically had a list of different machine types. They were going to bring back all the old machines they had from the first game, but they also had other ideas for machines. So Transform and Vampire Star were some of these new ideas, but they also have these, like, there's this list that he goes down to that is in the interview, so go check it out. But one that caught my eye was Caterpillar Star. I don't know what that is. That sounds interesting. It became Tank Star, but I'm just like, what was Caterpillar Star originally? And a lot of the flying-based machines were made somewhat weaker to balance out for the bulkier ground-based ones, allowing for a more balanced approach to make machines work to how machines are made in the game. So that's why the Paper Star has such low health, and why I have such a middling opinion of it. So I want to go through a few of the scrapped ideas, though. So bear with me here. Turret Star was a machine that would attack automatically with a turret. I can kind of see the redundance of this, as many riders auto-attack anyway. Reminds me how the Vampire Star and DeRoach's special are nearly identical. So the Vampire Star goes up, tromps, takes something. DeRoach does that too. So it's kind of like DeRoach and the Vampire Star is kind of redundant combo. They had the Vision Star, which disappears when boosting. I don't know if that means the rider does too, or if it's just the machine. The rider is, like, still visible, like it's in Wonder Woman's visible jet. I don't know. That's like, they're just listed. So these are my speculations of what they probably were. But I'm just kind of like, man, I want to see the concept art for these at the very least, if they got that far. Laser Star boosts across a set distance at super high speeds after charging, and this one seems extremely redundant, as that's kind of what the Rocket Star already does. Not sure how that would be different. Tread Star would run on never-ending rails, which I don't know how that would work. It also accelerates while it's drifting, and, like, wait, I don't... Like, this one seems to be odds at the game. Like, it has to be on rails, so it's constantly making its own rails, but it boosts, like, it only it accelerates while drifting. So how does that... Yeah. We have the Armor Star that has armor plates on it, and it's more like the plates fall off as it gets faster. This could have been a... I think this one could have worked. Like, basically, it has defense, and the more you hit it, the less defense it has, and then the faster it gets. So, like, I like that one. I like that one. The silliest one, though, was the Runner, which apparently was just a machine on chicken legs. How would that work? Would it have more or less handling the chariots? Who knows? Just the idea of operating some kind of chicken walker machine sounds goofy. I love it. Maybe one day. Maybe not. We'll see. Interestingly, a lot of the machines were designed to look realistic, which kind of adds a cute contrast to the more colorful, cartoony characters of Kirby. Wing ability was in the previous game, but was omitted due to all the animations they would have to make for it, which is why Jet is in the game instead. Easier to put a Jet helmet on there than make everyone have their own unique flying animations with the wing ability. And this is my own personal speculation, not my notes, but if you know what wing ability looks like originally, wing ability got a big change from Return to Dreamland onward. It still exists as an ability, and it looks nice. But because we saw that Sakurai brought back the old bomb hat, even though there has been a new version of the bomb hat established since Return to Dreamland 2011, it was like, no, bring back this one. Which, in fairness, easy, because that's just basically swapping out colors for the sword hat. But it's like, it's not as unique. But, yeah, the original wing ability has some connotations with it that are not super great. And while some of them are still there in the modern design, they're not as prevalent. I think that's probably a good thing. Okay, so that's all of that as far as some modes and stuff. But now, the big one. And I've switched over, as you can see. I wanted to do Top Ride ranked matches, because I want to get my Top Ride class up, and yeah, so I hope you're ready to listen to this song for a good chunk of the rest of the video, because Top Ride ranked waiting rooms are the worst, and you just kind of wait there forever. So, Road Trip. This is pretty much the entire reason I want to do these notes in the first place. Road Trip was not part of the game in the original planning stage. Sakurai felt creating a new game with the original elements of the original would be great, but still wanted to satisfy those who want single-player content. Based on his words, based on how I'm reading them, it seems that the Road Trip was being implemented, development was being implemented... I wrote these notes very, I'm trying to read the sentence, and it's like, that doesn't make sense. Okay, so based on Sakurai's own words, it seems like Road Trip was being implemented when development was far long enough that they couldn't make a completely new mode, which is why Road Trip is a hodgepodge of basically all three forms of the made modes. So, because it was not considered in the initial planning stages, it came about while they're developing the game, then... As noted with the Skya thing, they can't just be like, oh, here's a new mode, and it's like, oh, now we gotta retweak all the machines again. We gotta retweak Skya again. It's like, no, just use what we have and just kind of do this mini-game thing, basically. This does make me wonder how much time the game actually had as far as developments, and what other elements were cut for the time or what could have been. Considering Sakurai missed the launch year for the 3DS with Kid Icarus Uprising, I have a feeling the deadline So basically this is me kind of like thinking on this. So we all know Sakurai worked basically on Smash Bros. Until 2021. That's when the last DLC for Ultimate came out. So, we also know that he started working on his YouTube channel after the fact. So, at a most gracious point, we can say Air Riders had 4 years of development. I highly doubt that's the case, but it probably did. Now, I bring up the Kid Icarus thing in my notes, because Kid Icarus Uprising was basically kind of announced as, this is a big deal, this is why you're going to get the 3DS. It did not meet the 3DS's launch window. It was delayed a full year. And I think with Nintendo Switch 2, because they really wanted to be successful, there was no changing the release dates. It had to be in 2025 or nothing at all. And so that is why I doubt they had extra time to do anything else, which is why Road Trip ended up being the way it is. That is my thought process on it. Not to mention, this is for, again, a new system, which, people didn't quite know what they would be doing on it. And for Sakurai himself, this would be his first HD game that he'd be working on that wasn't an arena fighter. Or a platform fighter, when you think about it. Yeah, I really don't want him to make a new Smash game. I mean, I love a new Smash. I don't, he can rest, Let him do something else. Okay. And the reason I bring all this up is because no one dev wants to devote all their time to one project, especially if it takes so long. But it also helps explain the reason of, we didn't have time for extra city trials maps, a more fleshed out story mode, etc. Alongside other comments given by Sakurai. Perfection is the enemy of completion, in my opinion. So the final product we ended up with for Kirby Air Riders, I think is still incredible, even if there was stuff that they could have done. So, Sakurai, when he's saying the game is done, we know pretty much now as to why that is, because anything else that they could add that would change up gameplay, a new rider, a new machine, a new city trial map, would need to basically have a complete overhaul of the entire game to be implemented. And I don't think he wants to do that. I think he was happy to work on this, and was glad to do something else to Kirby again, but it was also like, yeah, I don't want to just keep working on this forever. So, and considering that basically he was working on Super Smash Bros. For roughly a decade before this, because Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, right after Kid Icarus Uprising, then Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, dude did not get a rest from that freaking series. I don't think he wanted to do the same thing with this. And I'm just okay, so why do I bring this all up? Because with the story mode as we have with Road Trip, it's kind of that's cool. You could have done something cooler with it. And it's well, yeah, that's basically all I had time for. And it's okay. So, sorry, that was kind of my own, long ramble, because I feel for Sakurai in this particular case, because it's kind of yeah, I don't want to be working on the same game for, 10 years, and then be oh, okay, cool, now do it again, because it's just that's miserable, man. I'm sorry. So moving on to Road Trip itself, and crafting the story, Sakurai decided that it should be about the machines, which is why picking a rider you use is kind of irrelevant. Doesn't matter which rider you pick. So that's why the story is focused on the machine solely. It's why you don't have Kirby wanted to do this. However, he does put his comment of, this is the Kirby universe, so there is potential you could see that every rider character has their own motivation of kind of, oh, wait, no, sorry, I meant... Oh, right, sorry. Nope, I was reading this comment wrong. I wrote... He basically goes, this is the Kirby universe, Kirby doesn't have that big of a story, it's not that important. To which I'm kind of have Kumazaki and his team have crafted this very intricate universe for Kirby since you left. Please don't ignore that. That's kind of rude. But his creation, he's going to do what he wants. still, it bummed me out a little bit, especially because, you know, a lot of modern Kirby has been more character-driven. Now, like, I'm not saying we're gonna go and get an interesting story for Scarfy, because, like, it's like, I mean, Scarfy, like, what's Scarfy gonna do? It's Scarfy. But it does explain to me why a lot of his games that have stories outside of Uprising feel grand, but are kind of empty. Because it's like, this is really cool! And it's like, okay, what's your character's motivation? They're just there! And it's kind of like, oh, okay. But, like, this is true also for, like, the Smash Bros. Games with stories and stuff. They're cool, but there is a wanting for it because, you know, if you have an imagination, you're just like, oh, I can just do that. And that's not bad. That's, like, a good thing to do with it, too. But it is kind of like, just like, well, the Kirby series is established now to have character motivation-driven stories, so I don't know why we couldn't do that. Anywho's, Gigantus and Leo were actually part of the original concept design as new legendary air ride machines. Nova's course was already being included into the game, so basically Sakurai saw these elements that were already there from the beginning and went, hey, what if I just made a story about these things and put them together? Zora became a focus of a machine that was whisked into space by accident. A lot of its design elements are from materials it attracted as it flew through space. Zora is not malicious. So, as we've seen in the story, Zora's just kind of like, hey man, and it crashes, like, cool, I can't move, this sucks. And then, you know, stuff happens. However, and this is kind of like, so, I feel for Sakurai again on the whole, I didn't have enough time to do all this. However, Sakurai's storytelling style, I do think leaves much to be desired, because again, no character motivation-driven story, because Kirby characters, it's the Kirby universe, that doesn't happen. And I'm like, Revenge of Meta Knight's right there, dude, but alright. Because this is like where I got like kind of crazy, and I'm probably gonna just be like, because we only have 13 minutes left of this video, I'm gonna keep it somewhat brief. However, basically, the whole reason I wanted to look at these interviews in the first place, and like, there's a lot of cool stuff in it, but there was this line in particularly that got me kind of going, what? Because from a story point perspective, that makes no sense. So, Nova was in the game. They're going to make a course after him, so they decided Nova's going to be part of the story. Nova, as described by Sakurai, direct quote, it was the same in Kirby Superstar, which he first appeared in. He's a machine that simply receives requests as external commands and then does everything in his power to grant them. Now, I'm hoping that this is translated properly, because what Sakurai implies from this here, as he goes on to say, Nova itself, like Zora, is not malicious. What? Sakurai explains that there's apparently another force that intervenes midway through the story to make Nova out to be malicious. Some force that wants to dominate or destroy the planet, and then he clams up as there's other scenarios he wants to share publicly later, as he has more ideas of what this force is, but just doesn't want to say it. Okay. And I'm going to get into my rant in just a moment. I'm going to try to keep it brief. But the route characters you pick from determine which stage you go to was done by a specific team on development. So they tried to, you pick up a different character, like you pick up the Heart, or you pick up Kine, or whatever. They basically tried to want to make this festival-like feel to like a bunch of different references to the Kirby series. And I thought, they did pretty good on that. Okay, I'm gonna try to do some other quick things. So there were a lot of testers that gave feedback on how to improve the overall game, to make it more accessible to players, which is why there's so many different options in the game, which I thought was fantastic. The licenses and My Machines were added as a way for players to express themselves, so that way you can get something kind of customized, show off a unique experience compared to others. They just wanted players to share this, which is why the market exists. The hats were also an additional inclusion to further the customization, and originally didn't support all of the riders, so it's kind of cool that, like, you know, we eventually got hats that can work for everyone. And I think the team went above and beyond to ensure no matter your character of choice, your machine of choice, etc., you could create things exactly as you wanted them, which shows how dedicated the team was to working on this game as they got to the finish line. Okay, there's one more thing I'm going to talk about, the grab bag. But I'll save that. I think it was on gummies, and I was just like, they're cool. I like gummies. So, I don't need to read my notes on this, because I know exactly what I'm going to say. I want to go back to story. And my pet peeve of the weird world of Japanese storytelling sometimes, especially in video games. From the get-go, from all material we have, Sakurai has said Kirby Air Riders is a one and done. Okay? Now, did they not have enough time to do some things? That is a possibility. I will grant them that. However, by all accounts of how the narrative of this road trip goes, Nova is malicious. It just is. You can recontextualize that to the other times Nova has appeared, and the other Clockwork stars that have shown up in the series, and it makes a lot of sense, because, like, from that point of view, yeah, it doesn't make sense for Nova to not be malicious. Because, again, you recontextualize that and go, oh, Nova's not malicious. By the way, here's all these robotic ant drones that are clawing out this machine alive. They came from Nova. What do you mean Nova is not malicious? Did something take over Nova? Did something get in the way of the wish? Did something happen that's just like, oh, well, you know, Nightmare stolen the Fountain of Dreams and it corrupted it? It's like, okay, cool. However, Kirby Air Riders was meant to be a one and done. If there was some other malicious force in the story, show it! Don't tell us! There are so many games I've played where it's like, oh, by the way, did you know this? It's implied because of this. And it's like, how is it supposed to know that? Oh, you know, this interview they did, or, you know, this other, like, side, like, drama CD thing. And I'm like, okay, that's not in the game. I'm playing the game. If you want me to learn about it in the way you intend me to, put it in the game. Don't go, oh, by the way, there's like this other thing. Blah, 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 it's over here. Because when it comes down to it, video games, for the most part, are one and dones. They are not usually long connected narratives. Some can be, and some of them do great jobs at this. But you can't go, by the way, I made this game, I have no intention of doing DLC, I have no intention of making a sequel, and then go, oh, but here's an important plot point I didn't include in the game, please listen to me because it's there. No, it's not. It's not there. And the fact that Sakurai clams up and doesn't actually tell us what it is like, okay, so are you planning something or not? Because if you are, then all the statements which he has made in this interview are lies, because then he clearly wants to do more of this. I don't think, from the level of detail that he likes to go into when it comes from a game developer's standpoint, he wants to actually do that. But it seems like he's like, no, I saw this idea and I hold it close to my chest, I don't want to tell anyone. And it's like, who is that helping? That is just making things confusing for the sake of making things confusing. That is not good storytelling. You're doing pretty good, top right. Yay! Okay, sorry. Yeah, like, that thing just drives me, because, I mean, I'm like, yeah, if you've made it to this part of the video, because now I've been kind of rambling and discussing what Sakurai has talked about the game, because, again, outside of this one thing, I love the game. It's this one thing that wasn't even in the game. It's something Sakurai said later that is making me go, what the heck? But for those who have played through Road Trip, what was your interpretation of Nova after playing it? No, you can't say I played it after listening to Sakurai in this interview, because that's going to change your perspective on it. What was your initial thoughts when you played the game by yourself, on your own, without an outside influence telling you which way to think? Because I am going to guarantee at least 80% of you probably came out the same conclusion I did, which was, wow, Nova's a dick. We have the bad ending where Nova just closes his eyes like, I'm out of here, my work is done, and it's like, get back here, you suck. And then we literally go to Nova to blow it up. Why are we doing this? If there is another malicious force out there, why are we not going after that malicious force in particularly? You can tell me, okay, we didn't have enough time to do the development on it. That's fine, but then you can't say, I can't tell you what it is, because you just admitted you did not have enough time in development to actually put this force into the game. Like, I know a lot of Japanese storytelling probably gets influenced by manga, and that's fine. Manga, however, is released on a typically weekly or monthly basis. There is always going to be more to the story until it ends. So you can foreshadow things or recontextualize things later on that maybe you didn't think about at the time, and it can still make sense. A video game, Kirby Air Riders Road Trip, does not have, and as far as we know, will not have, a sequel. Therefore, what the game shows us is what we have as the text. You can't then say, by the way, there's this other thing here that I didn't tell you about and is not obvious in the game because we didn't put it in. But also, I'm not going to tell you what it is, because what if one day? And it's like, dude, Mr. Sakurai, you're in like your 60s, like late 50s, I think. You deserve to retire. You've done a lot. Just tell us what the dang plot twist you had was. And if it was Nightmare, I'm sorry to say, Nightmare has not been that relevant to the Kirby series in a long time. He is a fun callback cameo character. You brought him back yourself for this game. But Nightmare has been overshadowed by many other forces that have been brought into the Kirby games, even while you were working at HAL. I'm sorry. I know you wanted to make Nightmare the big bad of the anime. Nightmare's not that important overall. Okay? Okay? And the reason I'm bringing up Nightmare is because Fountain of Dreams and, like, the Wish got corrupted or something, and, like, maybe it was Marx, and that's why Marx is the boss, but then Marx is also a writer, so it's just like, but we're not doing a character-driven story, so we don't know why Marx would have, so, yeah. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna read this one. I have this one, like, these few lines I wrote all in caps. Nova is the freaking final boss of Road Trip story. I think it would be good to know why they are not malicious if we are destroying them in order to free Zora from tyranny. Okay, we have 2 minutes left, so I am going to get off that. Oh, I could get so much meaner than I have, but I truly, like, that is a nitpick, and I can really pick at it. But everything else was discussed in this interview, from how the design philosophy went to how they make the characters, the writers, the machines, etc. Like, it is so cool to, like, get the full insight of all that. And I can really tell, again, the team did work really hard on this game. So I want to give them kudos where we can, because holy crap. And isn't it nice to not have to worry about, like, oh no, there's DLC or something like that. It's just, here's a game, you can play it, you can finish it, and then you're done. That's nice in this day and age. So outside my one nitpick, I think this is really, like, Again, this is really cool. Sakurai really commits to everything he does outside of story, apparently. And I really, really hope that he's going to do something cool and not have to just work on another Smash Bros. Game. Because I know that's a big moneymaker for Nintendo, but like, just buy this game. If you don't own Smash Bros. And you have Nintendo Switch 2, buy this game instead, please. Just please. And also, I'm not going to get another top ride ranked race in, I guess. So that's that. As it is, though, if you like this video, I know a lot of rambling and ranting, but cool. Please go read the actual interview in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. All good. Pick up the game like I've asked you to. And most importantly, please have a wonderfully great day, and I'll see you on the next one for when I don't have a time limit. Bye-bye! Ciao.